Honestly, I'm not sure. Altogether, I will say that each grade level probably has about, I think they capped it like 26 kids when you have the combined grade levels. And so beyond that, sorry, I'm echoing. Beyond that, we capped it at 26 for 2 teachers.
Okay. Thank you for that. The next question I've got for the school psychologist update. What are we doing to engage remote kids? I know we got some parent feedback in writing to the board here the last couple of months. What is the school psychologist doing to reach out to those remote kids to make sure that they feel connected and in touch with the student body?
Yep. So our school psychologist, Lauren Ritchie, is she works with us a couple of days a week. And in terms of engaging our remote learners, that's really kind of fallen more on Ashley O'Keefe, who is our school counselor. And our school counselor has actually been really great in terms of reaching out to remote families and making sure that we offer services. We have a lot of kids who are experiencing different challenges just because they're feeling a little bit isolated and because things are different from them. And she's offering regular services for students who need it. And then certainly those services are available to all students, both in person and remote.
Okay. Do you feel that there's maybe capacity on her plate or someone's plate to physically check in with all of our remote kids that are still remote and their parents to make sure that they feel included and inclusive with the student body? Is that possible? Is that feasible?
Yeah, we can definitely make that happen. We can definitely make that happen for sure.
Cool. And if we can just get an update on that in our next meeting, that would be great. I know it's going to probably be too late because it'll be June, but if we can execute on that, just end of year issues, concerns, the stress is moving into summer, and then what September is going to be like, making sure that those kids feel that there's a connection. So when they do return in September, it's a little bit more of a better transition for them.
Definitely.
That's all I have on the principal's report.
Thank you.
Yes, I know we're going to get a more detailed update by Michelle on the expected year-end balance. So I'm all set with what's been presented in the consent agenda. Do you want to do a facilities report for us, or do you want to just present that in the deliberative, or is there anything that we should be discussing tonight?
The couple of things that Roger highlighted, and by the way, he's fixing an HVAC problem in the NPR even as we speak for deliberative session. So moderator King is very strict protocols. So we're trying to keep him happy. But a couple of the things that Roger called out, first, the bladder repair inside the water tank was, he was able to do it in a very cost-effective manner. It didn't require replacing the entire tank, which is a good thing because it would have been a major expense. And so the pictures he included tell quite the story with the condition of that failed bladder and how that came together. And then everything else is some of the things that board members have brought up in the past that were repairs around the building. And his report also has links to several other reports that are hyperlinked, like the HVAC system that we're working on. That's our major project right now, and that's on target. So I can attempt to answer any questions any board members might have.
What's the sludge that we see in the photo? Is that iron?
Yes.
Okay. It's unfortunately very common in Mont.
So I think I was on mute before, so I apologize. Any other questions from board members or anything in the consent agenda for approval?
There's just one more thing, Mr. Vice Chair, that if I could bring up. Dr. Sarfti has a outstanding presentation online of the Read Across America program. I encourage all the members of the community to check all of those out, specifically one about a nice story involving the Mont Police Department. And, there was a little challenge between the police department and the principal about who can get more views. So I encourage folks to check out the police department one because it's lacking a little right now. If you can go online, share it, like it, and repost, that'd be great.
Thank you, Stephen O'Keefe. Anything else, Jess? So do we move on to the,
Take a motion to accept the consent agenda.
okay, thanks. I'll accept a motion to accept the consent agenda as written.
Accept the consent agenda as written.
Motion to accept from Mr. O'Keefe. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Hinckley. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. It's a little bit quicker, isn't it? Let me go back to video here, make sure I'm on. Okay. The unassigned fund balance project approval. Board to receive an updated UFB and quotes for projects approved at the April meeting. Ms. Michelle?
Sure, I'm happy to share some additional information on that. You have an updated fund balance report in your packet, and the items that are available for expenditure would be unexpended appropriations, and that's approximately 80,000 at this point. You may recall that in one of the reports, there was we were monitoring the balance because we were concerned that it was getting close to being overexpended. At that time, we had to hold some funds aside because they had been budgeted for potential use, particularly in the area of special education. I met with Meg and she and I did a thorough review of the accounts, and we were able to release some funds because although there was a budget that was put in place because of the potential need, we have been able to determine that we were able to release those funds at this point. So you can see in the note that about 100,000 was released, which contributed to the switch, if you will, for these funds to be now in a positive and have some availability of unexpended appropriations for the board's consideration. The other items, the revenue that is in excess of the budget, and that is not available for spending by the board prior to June 30th. That will go toward the fund balance at the end of the year. And then the emergency order money, that can shift as well. Right now, the most recent projection is about $9,000. So that's being monitored. Where we have expenditures that are COVID related, we'll apply that funding toward those dollars. I'm happy to answer any questions. I did also just want to mention that there's a projection for food service that is being covered in this most recent year-end fund balance projection as well. We anticipate that there'll be a loss in the food service program due to lower sales volume or participation level because of the COVID situation. And I did do some research to see if there was any COVID-related funding that could help supplement that loss. And because the loss is a result of decreased revenues, it does not, it's not an eligible item for federal funding.
So do you think the 80,000 is going to be a somewhat stable number since we've kind of gone full circle in the last 3 months? You think that's going to stabilize out through the end of the year?
Well, as much as we can project from now to the end of the year, I think that we'll have 80 to work with. It could be more. And again, if we have some surprises with facility needs, things of that nature, it could be less. So this does factor in the repair of the bladder, the underground storage tank, and the new mower are also covered by this projection. Those items were not previously budgeted expenditures.
And help me out, if we don't spend it on a project, it goes where?
It goes to offset the tax rate.
Tax, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure. And what was that number last year? all was said and done? Where did we end up last year, just as a reference point?
Actually, the amount that was set aside for,
That's for one.
yeah, we put money aside for the emergency order. The total that was set aside for the emergency order was 140,000. Give me a minute and I can check to see what the other balance was.
Any questions from the board about that?
Let's move on and I'll,
Okay,
because I want to dig that out. I don't have it.
Okay.
Mr. O'Keefe?
So the questions I've got, we talk about sort of the expected excess is about 80,000. That does not include the 50,000 warrant article to retain. That's going to be from the tax base. And so we're really talking about $20,000 in excess of what we've got, which to be honest, I'm not very comfortable spending.
In giving it back to the tax base, as little as it is, that's something. What I've
My questions about is when you mentioned the food service program, where do I see the deficit there on this sheet of paper?
What line is that?
Okay, Michelle.
I included it in the notes.
Okay.
In the gray box.
Back and forth on my computer here.
I think it's in the gray box.
Yeah, so I'm in the gray box. I don't see. Rescue plan supplemental.
Yeah, it's like 4 lines down. Current expense estimate for food service a year end in loss of excess of 30,000.
Oh, that gray box. I'm sorry. I was talking about the fuchsia box at the bottom.
Oh,
Color-coded boxes.
Okay.
And
And
so
so
that $30,000 loss, please help me, because I'm trying to understand and remember what we did from an accounting standpoint. We transitioned our food program to the SAU office. We did some
Actually, so
reaccounting as a request of
a specific person on the SAU school board budget committee.
we changed how we're accounting for the food
Service
service
program.
program.
That is not included in this, correct?
it is included.
It is included in this. And so we talk about the deficit. When we seek reimbursement, the deficit is as a result of less kids in school, so less kids buying lunch, or less kids that would normally
Pay for lunch are now receiving it for free.
So the food service program works like, they call it an enterprise fund. It's like
Yep.
a mini business.
Yeah.
And the expenditures, if the expenditures exceed the revenues are, meals that are sold and a la carte items that are purchased, then we'll have a deficit. So because it's a federally funded program, it cannot end the year in a deficit. So the general fund has to support.
Cover the difference.
And the reason that we're in such a significant deficit this year is due to the fact that the volume of sales of lunches and a la carte items is lower than anticipated. So it's not as much of an issue as the difference between what we budgeted for expenditures. It's primarily what the revenues.
So the cost associated with the meals that are going out the door are being 100% subsidized. It's the expenses involved in delivering those foods and meals out the door that have not reduced as a result of the reduction in volume over here. So it's the manpower hours, has nothing to do with food product, correct? Okay. So I would ask the uncomfortable conversation in terms of, was there a thought, at least along the way, to reduce hours to make up the difference there, or is that?
There was.
Okay.
Except that we really had to be ready for any changes in meal requests. Because from segment to segment, we could have a change in the population in the building. We could have a change in the number of meals that were requested remote, because we provided that as well. So we really wanted an opportunity to scale back staffing. Because if we had to be up and running again, it's kind of like when we think about the bus drivers. I mean, we scaled back on bus drivers and we need to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Talked about reductions in hours and do not move forward with that.
Okay. And then the additional revenue coming in from state grants, you've already accounted for that in the, I'm sorry, it's fuchsia purpley or whatever down on the bottom. We're expecting only a $9,000 surplus there that's going to be applied towards only COVID-related expenses that are identified after the June 30th deadline. Did I understand that correctly?
So the actual expenditures, and some of these are still estimates.
Okay.
The actual expenditures on that report, we had approximately 44,000 in actual expenditures, 76,000 in encumbrances, and then I estimated that there would be additional expenditures between the report date and June. So it's possible that we could have another 12,000 that isn't going to be used. I mean, this number could be larger. And likewise, if we have additional COVID-related expenditures that can be applied toward that, then it could be less.
So your anticipated total expenditure at the end of the year and the approved amount of 140,
that is not including the
101,000 that's anticipated to come in as ERSA 3, correct?
We expect to see another
101,000 in terms of,
Yeah, ESSER 3 is that's shared there just for reference at this point. The state has identified what they project each district will get, and they've said approximately 2.3 times the ESSER 2 money, which we actually now have been allotted, but are in the process of writing grants to utilize the ESSER 2 money. The ESSER 3 money has not been allocated to us as of yet. It will be shortly.
okay.
And then the district has, I think it's a 30-day window. We have a timeline to turn around a reopening plan, and that's sort of the first step to having access to those funds.
Okay.
It might be a 60-day window for the.
I'll get to my point, so please bear with me. I'm trying to take me myself mentally along this path here. So the 101,000 is going to be included with the 109, the 110,000. They'll be available after June 30th.
The 101,000 will be available as soon as the state allocates it to us and accepts our reopening plan. So that could be before June 30th. It could be after June 30th. The window of spending is from, I think I put it on, you know what, I didn't put it on there because I don't know that they've clearly identified the window of spending on that yet, but I believe it's going to be through 2023 that we have the ability to spend those funds.
Okay. Because that's actually that project that we're trying to work on. And clearly, obviously, you're getting where I'm going. With the HVAC project, we're using the capital reserve money that we're trying to use to replace the roof, plus the extra 90,000 that's there. In addition to that, another 110,000. Is that going to be enough to apply towards the HVAC project to have a project in motion or a project ready?
So that's a very good question, because when we talk about ESSER 3, we would want to look at the HVAC in light of other needs as well. And I know Christine and I have talked about when we think about reopening and future needs for supporting students, remote instruction is an area that we believe there's going to be a need as well. So these funds will get allotted to the school district, and then it will be, after they're allotted, determining eligible expenses and what would be allocated toward using these funds.
Okay, so it's not specifically COVID-related costs like PPE, HVAC, it can go towards remote instruction.
It is
hiring in counseling services, so forth and so
It is COVID related. You have to be able to identify how it responds to, prevents, and addresses COVID related issues. And remote instruction is an area where we feel there'll be a need as well. So that's something that will require, additional conversation to determine how best to utilize these funds toward which cost items.
There's also a requirement around using a certain percentage of the funds to support struggling students or students who need to make, need to accelerate their growth due to disrupted and or remote learning. So we really need to make sure that we get our allocation, understand what all of the requirements are for the grant, and then make that determination as to what our greatest need is to be able to, in a sense, reopen. Not really, we've been open, but to continue to operate what is our greatest need.
Are we going to get a presentation on that in June or July then about what that sort of game plan is? I'm assuming you're going to want to hire additional staff to continue the remote instruction curriculum through the fall. Is that okay? Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have. Sorry.
Any questions? Do you have any bad ones? I'm gonna unmute myself so people can hear me. So do we need to do anything with that?
No,
Nothing?
Right now, we're all set up. The board's all set. And then we just have another public comment and then a non-public.
So at this point, this will be our second public opportunity for people to ask questions of the board or any of the members of the school board or staff that are here tonight in the library. So, Mr. Superintendent, do we have any?
I have a question. Okay. The school district moderator. And a question about tonight's meeting. The warrant that we're voting on today, is it the same warrant, the same dollar amount that was for the public hearing in January? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. That's it.
Thank you.
I do have one thing that I'm going to call Dr. Sarfty out on something from an announcement she made at the SE meeting. From our meeting, Dr. Sarfty, if you can mention some personnel changes. This is the front office and recognizing somebody who's giving us a lot of money.
Yep. Yeah, certainly I could kind of hear you, Stephen, but I think you're talking about Mrs. Jameson, correct? Yeah. So we, Mrs. Jameson, everybody knows Mrs. Jameson. She's been a staple in the office for, I think, 21 years, and she is loved by all. She's going to be leaving us very soon, and we wish her the best of luck, and we're so thankful for her.
Thank you. And I just want to add my comments there real fast. Somebody that's got such tenure like her, my kids specifically, the moment they walked into this building, she was the first smiling face that they saw. And that transition into a uncomfortable building with a lot of strangers was always eased by her warmth and her ability to connect with kids, and something that I'm going to personally miss. I wish her well in England. And she's just a great person, and I can't say any bad things about her.
We love her for sure. We all love her.
I have that other piece of information.
Oh, last year's unassigned fund balance?
Yeah.
Okay.
The balance for last year's unassigned fund balance, so 50,000 went toward funding the warrant article for the capital reserve fund. $180,503 was to reduce taxes, and then we had the amount that was retained for the COVID funding, the 140,000 and change.
Was 140,000 and change?
So there were three
For
pieces.
COVID.
Yeah, COVID was 140,000. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we gave back the 180 last year.
Came back money.
And circling back to Ms. Jameson, is there a need that we need to backfill her for the remainder of the calendar year, or?
She's officially retiring as of June 30th.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I thought maybe she was leaving sooner than that, so. I think
Non-public.
What's that?
Just non-public, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to go into non-public. I need to read the RSA.
Yep.
Pursuant to RSA 91A:32.
Subsection A and C.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second to Mr. O'Keefe's?
I'll second.
Ms. Hinckley seconds. All those in favor?
This has to be a roll call, actually, Mr.
Roll
Chairman.
call.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Hinckley?
Hinckley, yes.
Eckhoff, yes. We'll go to non-public at exactly 6:30.
Close it, yeah.